Have you ever stopped to think about what defines someone as normal? What is real and what is just a label? In 1973, a psychiatrist dared to challenge the system. He risked his career to expose something few had the courage to question: the flaws behind psychiatric diagnoses. What he uncovered was so disturbing that it shook the foundations of psychiatry. But what few people know is that the consequences of this experiment go far beyond what you might imagine. Want to know what they don't want you to find out? Stay until the end. The 1970s were a time of revolutions. While people were fighting for freedom and civil rights, psychiatry remained in the shadows. Psychiatric hospitals were, in many cases, warehouses for those forgotten by society. But how did it come to this? Psychiatry was a poorly understood field, riddled with prejudice. Diagnoses were often based on subjective observations, and treatments were more about control than cure. And it was in this context that David Rosenhan decided to do something unimaginable. He didn't just want to critique the system. He wanted to prove, with evidence, how fragile psychiatric judgment really was. This is where the experiment that would change everything began. Rosenhan gathered 8 ordinary people: psychologists, a housewife, a painter. None of them had any history of mental disorders. They were instructed to do one simple thing: visit different hospitals and claim they heard voices saying the words empty, hollow, and thud. Other than that, they were to be completely honest. Their jobs, their personal lives, everything was truthful. The only falsehood was the initial hallucination, and the result, shocking. Every volunteer was diagnosed with either schizophrenia or bipolar disorder and admitted to the hospital. But what happened next is even more disturbing. Inside the hospitals, the volunteers behaved completely normally. Yet doctors and nurses interpreted every action as a symptom of illness. One volunteer noted his surroundings and was described in his chart as engaging in obsessive note-taking. Medications were given without question. Human contact was nearly non-existent. One participant wrote, "It's as if we were invisible. No one sees us as people, only as walking diagnoses." And even after they claimed they were fine, that they felt normal, no one believed them. The label of mentally ill was stronger than the truth. The study was published in Science under the title "Sane in Insane Places." The conclusion was clear. Psychiatric hospitals could not distinguish who was sick from who wasn't. But this didn't end there. Some accused Rosenhan of unethical methods, while others questioned the validity of his study. One hospital challenged Rosenhan to send fake patients to test their system. He agreed, but here's the bizarre twist. Rosenhan never sent anyone. Yet the hospital claimed to have identified 41 fakes. Nearly 50 years later, hospitals have changed. But psychiatry still faces challenges. Diagnoses are still, in part, based on human interpretation. And the question remains: are we truly listening to patients? The Rosenhan experiment wasn't perfect, but it raised a question we can't ignore. How do we ensure mental health is treated with humanity and accuracy? If this video made you think, share it with someone. Like and subscribe for more stories that reveal what many prefer to keep hidden.